So like I said in the full review, I did not see the Sennheiser CX Plus coming, but I'm really glad that they're here. These are my topic earbuds if sound is your main priority in this price range. But today we're going to compare the CX Plus to their direct and more popular competitors, the Galaxy Buds 2 and the Beats Studio Buds. Now, when it comes to pricing, both the Galaxy Buds 2 and Beats Studio Buds retail for $150. And just knowing Samsung and Apple, I expect the price of these earbuds to be in lockstep. Whereas the CX Plus retail for $180, which I feel is reasonable. Now, depending on your needs, you might be better off with one of these earbuds over the other, but nonetheless, if you want to pick any of these earbuds up, they'll be linked down below. And if you want to further support the channel, check out the merch shelf down below. I've made some shirts and hoodies that look and feel great, and if you've been watching me for a while, you know I can be very particular, so I'll only set my name on something that I'm really proud of. Now first, let's address these cases because these three cases are very different from one another. Now all of these cases are decently small and they aren't too noticeable when they're in your pocket, making them great for everyday carry earbuds. However, the Galaxy Buds 2 have the least noticeable case here when it's in your pocket. Now technically, the Studio Buds case is the thinnest case here, but it does have a larger footprint than the Galaxy Buds 2. And then there's the CX's case, which is decently small, but this shape just makes this case very noticeable when it's in your pocket when compared to these other two cases. However, the main differentiating factor here about these cases is that the Galaxy Buds 2 are the only earbuds here that have wireless charging, whereas both the Studio Buds and CX Plus only charge via their USB-C ports. But now let's talk about battery life. Both the Studio Buds and CX Plus have an advertised combined battery life of 24 hours with their active noise cancellation turned off. The earbuds themselves can go for 8 straight hours and the case can supply 2 additional charges. Whereas the Galaxy Buds 2 do manage to edge out ahead here because they have an advertised combined battery life of 29 hours with their active noise cancellation turned off. The earbuds themselves can go for 7.5 straight hours, but the case can supply 3 additional charges, which I do feel is impressive because this is the only case here that also has wireless charging. However, just keep in mind, if you were to use the active noise cancellation on all of these earbuds, that is going to reduce your overall battery life. Both the Studio Buds and CX Plus are good for about 15 hours of combined battery life. Their earbuds are good for about 5 hours straight, and then plus the 2 additional charges that their case will supply. Whereas with the Galaxy Buds 2, their earbuds are also good for 5 hours straight, but keep in mind their case does supply them with 3 additional charges instead. But now let's talk about the earbuds themselves. Regarding fit, these earbuds do fit rather differently from one another. Now both the Galaxy Buds 2 and CX Plus fit like your standard pair of in-ear earbuds, as in, they go into your ear canals a decent amount. However, the CX Plus do go into your ear canals just a little deeper than the Galaxy Buds 2. Whereas the Studio Buds are a pair of shallow fitting in-ear earbuds, so they don't go in as deep as these other two earbuds, which results in a more natural and comfortable fit. Now personally, I do prefer the fit of the Studio Buds here, but since these earbuds are more shallow fitting, they do like to wiggle out the most here. But nonetheless, personally, I would mainly recommend all of these earbuds for casual use. Neither of these earbuds would be ideal for working out because they do like to wiggle out. But now let's talk about connectivity. On all of these earbuds, each earbud establishes a connection with your phone. So if you just want to use one earbud at a time, you can use either one, it doesn't matter. And this is the connection setup that we expect to see from our earbuds nowadays. However, if you're a Samsung power user, you're going to be able to hot swap between all of your Samsung devices with the Galaxy Buds 2 thanks to seamless earbud connection. But even if you're not heavily invested into Samsung's ecosystem, both the Galaxy Buds 2 and Studio Buds are good options for power users who might have devices running different operating systems. With both the Galaxy Buds 2 and Studio Buds, if you want to switch from one device to another, all you got to do is just go into your other device's Bluetooth menu and establish a new connection, and then the earbuds will automatically switch over to your new device. Whereas with the CX Plus, these earbuds are best used with one primary device, because if you want to go from using one device to another, you either gotta open up Sennheiser's app and then switch devices from the app, or you're gonna have to put these earbuds into pairing mode every single time you want to go from, let's just say, using your phone to your laptop, which definitely is a lot more cumbersome compared to these other two earbuds. However, when it comes to performance, all of these earbuds have zero latency across the board when watching movies or videos on your phone, whether you're using an iPhone or an Android device. And when it comes to audio codecs, both the Galaxy Buds 2 and Studio Buds only have support for SBC and AAC, which is fine. But the CX Plus also has support for a higher quality audio codecs like aptX and aptX Adaptive, which you'll be able to take advantage of if you use these earbuds with an Android device. But now let's talk about actually listening to music with these earbuds. Now both the Galaxy Buds 2 and Studio Buds sound great for entry-level earbuds. Now personally, I think the Galaxy Buds sound best when they're set to their dynamic EQ. Out of the box, these earbuds can sound a little bright, but while in their dynamic EQ, the mids and highs get a little relaxed and the bass comes in stronger. But overall, I do prefer how the Studio Buds sound over the Galaxy Buds 2. With the Studio Buds, these earbuds sound more open and their bass resonates much more, leading to a much more dynamic and, simply put, fun listening experience. Whereas with the Galaxy Buds 2, they just don't sound as open, and even though their bass does resonate a good amount when they're set to their dynamic EQ, it's nowhere near as drastic as the Studio Buds. But then there are the Sennheiser CX Plus, which are just on a whole other level. These things simply just sound more open and have better instrument separation than the Galaxy Buds and Studio Buds, and they also have better clarity. But the really fun thing about these earbuds is that if you want, they can have a whole lot of bass as well that resonates harder and deeper than the bass found on the Studio Buds, but it doesn't muddle the rest of your music. So with the CX Plus, whether you want a neutral or vocals focused EQ, or if you want a bass heavy EQ, they can do it all. And the really important thing here is that with the CX Plus, you can adjust their EQ to your liking. And this app works on both Android and iOS. Whereas with the Galaxy Buds 2, this app only works if you're on an Android device. And without this app, you aren't going to get the most out of these earbuds if you're an iPhone user. You're not going to be able to choose between the different EQ settings, and you're also not going to be able to adjust your ANC or your touchpad configuration. And then there are the Studio Buds, which do have app support on both Android and iOS, but this app doesn't allow you to directly customize your EQ. So with the Studio Buds, you are stuck with their bass heavy EQ, which personally I don't really mind because these earbuds are just a whole lot of fun to listen to. But definitely, if you want the best sound, the simple answer here is just go with the CX Plus. But now let's talk about the media controls on these earbuds. Both the Galaxy Buds 2 and CX Plus are using touchpads, whereas the Studio Buds are using physical buttons. And this alone could be a deciding factor for some people. Nonetheless, the touchpads on both the Galaxy Buds and CX Plus are accurate and easy enough to use. But also, with both the Galaxy Buds and CX Plus, you get more control over your media directly from the earbuds themselves than you do with the Studio Buds. With the Galaxy Buds and CX Plus, you can play or pause your media, skip through your music, adjust the volume of your music, cycle between your ANC settings, and even activate your voice assistant if you have them configured properly. So even though the physical buttons on the Studio Buds are more accurate, the touchpads on these other earbuds do allow for more control without having to use your phone. Now, when it comes to always listening voice assistants, the Galaxy Buds 2 have support for Bixby, which really only applies if you're a Galaxy user, whereas the Studio Buds have support for Hey Siri. But I don't really think that matters because these earbuds are mainly meant for Android users. But nonetheless, neither of these earbuds have support for Hey Google, but you can always activate your voice assistant of choice by just using their touchpads. But finally, I do want to address that the Studio Buds are the only earbuds here that don't have proximity sensors, so they won't automatically pause your music if you take your earbuds out of your ears. Now, even though the Galaxy Buds 2 do have proximity sensors, they'll only pause your music if you take both earbuds out of your ears. But then there are the CX Plus, which will automatically pause your music if you take one earbud out of your ear, which I feel is the correct way to do it. But now let's talk about the active noise cancellation on these earbuds. Now, right off the bat, I am going to have to say that these earbuds don't block out as much noise as the big boys. Because when it comes to ranking, the Sony WF-1000 XM4s block out the most amount of noise here, albeit they do have an advantage because of their itchy foam ear tips. Below them are the Jabra Elite 85Ts, which also block out a ton of noise while being more comfortable, so personally I do prefer them. Below them are the AirPods Pro and Sennheiser Momentum 2s, which I feel are neck and neck, and below them are the Galaxy Buds Pro. Now below the Galaxy Buds Pro are the Beats Studio Buds, below them are the Galaxy Buds 2, and below them are the CX Plus. Now the CX Plus do block out some noise, but not a lot. And in general, all of these earbuds mainly just block out constant low frequency sounds, like the constant humming of an AC unit. So overall, I really wouldn't pick any of these earbuds up if active noise cancellation is your main priority, but the Beats Studio Buds are your best bet here. But like I mentioned in the past, I only use the active noise cancellation on my earbuds when I have to, and what's really important to me is the quality of their ambient mode. Now the ambient mode on the Studio Buds and Galaxy Buds 2 sounds very similar. They both sound fairly natural with zero hissing in the background. Whereas with the CX Plus, even though their ambient mode also sounds good and sounds fairly natural with zero hissing in the background, it is a little bit more amplified, so things will sound a little louder than they do in real life, which some people will like and others not so much. Now, unfortunately, you can't adjust the ambient mode on the Studio Buds or CX Plus like you can on the Galaxy Buds 2. But overall, I am gonna have to say that the Studio Buds have the best performing ambient mode here, mainly because their microphone array does the best job here of rejecting wind noise when walking outdoors. Now, the CX Plus also do a really good job of rejecting wind noise, but the Studio Buds just do a slightly better job. But finally, here's the microphone test. Now, overall, all of these earbuds have decent sounding microphones to take phone calls with while in a quiet room. However, I do want to point out that with the Studio Buds, there isn't like a slight hissing in the background that you might hear with the CX Plus. But then there are the Galaxy Buds 2, which I do feel sound a little better because they do have a little bit more amplification on my voice. But the real difference here is when it comes to blocking out noise pollution. Now, the Galaxy Buds 2 do the best job of blocking out chatter here. Now, you'll still hear some chatter in the background and it might sound a little robotic, but you can definitely still understand me. Whereas with the Beats Studio Buds, you can clearly hear some chatter in the background. And you can also hear a noticeable amount of chatter in the background with the Sennheiser CX Plus. So overall, both the CX Plus and Beats Studio Buds have good sounding microphones on them for phone calls, but I'd rather try to take phone calls with them while in a quieter environment, whereas with the Galaxy Buds 2, you can get away with some noise pollution. So with all that being said, if you are trying to choose between any of these earbuds, they're all great options. However, the CX Plus really are the standouts here when it comes to sound quality. These things truly are on a whole other level, and whether you like a neutral EQ or bass heavy EQ, these earbuds have you covered. So if sound is your main priority, then you will definitely want to go with these. Now, the Beats Studio Buds also sound great, and I like their bass-heavy EQ as well, but these earbuds stand out a little bit here because they do block out the most amount of noise, and they have the best performing ambient mode here. And the Studio Buds also have the more comfortable fit here because of their shallow-fitting ear tips. And finally, there are the Galaxy Buds 2, which I would say are the most convenient earbuds here. They have the least noticeable case here, which also has wireless charging. They have the longest combined battery life, and they also have the best sounding microphone here for phone calls. If you made it this far, I guess you enjoyed the video, so hit the like button and get subscribed. If you want to pick any of the products up, they'll be linked down below. And if you want to further support the channel, check out the merch. I made some shirts and hoodies that look and feel great. And you know, I can be very particular, so I'll only slap my name on something that I'm really proud of.